Good morning. It's 7 minutes after 10 o'clock on a Friday morning. That means it's time for the Real Estate Fix with Rich on your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220. I'm Rich Sherman. I'm the guy who gets to host the show. I'm a realtor. I've been in the business around 33 years. I started when I was 7. I've been at it for a while. I am not an attorney. The opinions I have are my own. I think everybody knows that at this point. But for those of you who listen regularly, I thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. We have some good stuff today. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. We have some great stuff today. We're going to do a little bit of market update. Not a whole lot of change since last week. Some interest rates are still going up. We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. We've been talking about how difficult it is to buy a house these days and how affordability is the key word. Affordability, affordability, affordability. There's something we all look at in real estate called the affordability index. And that right now is in the worst shape it has been in my entire 33-year career. It is harder to buy a house now than it has been since the day I got into real estate in, what was that, 1989, 1990? My goodness, it has been, it's rough out there, that's for sure. But we're going to talk about a way we can partially fix that. We have something called the rental rebate program, which we've talked about before. But what that is, it's a program run out of my office. And what we do, to make a very long story short, actually not that long a story, medium story short, is we will give you money to buy a house. If you are currently renting and you can hear the sound of my voice, all you got to do is give me a call, 661-714-1400. Again, 661-714-1400. That is my personal cell phone number. Just give me a call and we will set you up. We will literally give you money to buy a house. We're going to talk about how that works because we think everybody should convert from renting to buying if we possibly can. There is no wealth in Western society that is not tied to real estate ownership. So got to get in the game. And also, most importantly today, we've got a special guest from my staff, from my team for a very, very long time. Those of you guys who know me have met her, I'm sure. Anna Burko is with us. She's going to talk to us all about buyer tips and things buyers are going through. She handles the majority of the buyers in the office for us. And actually, as of last month, going over these numbers, Anna by herself is about 1%, almost 2% of the entire Santa Clarita real estate market. Girl has just been on fire of late, which is fantastic because she knows what she's doing and she knows how to get people the deals and she knows how to find the deals and all the stuff that goes with it. She works her tail off. So we're going to talk to Anna about what's going on in the buyer market today and all things buyer. So yeah, today's show is going to be all things buyers. For those of you looking to buy a house, today is your day to listen in. So please do. But first, let's talk about some of the statistics because these are just a little scary. So we just got the August numbers, 2023 August numbers for both the San Fernando Valley and the Santa Clarita Valleys from our local MLS. That's SRAR, the Southland Regional Association of Realtors. Fantastic group of which I've been a member for 33 years. Anyway, let's go over some of these. Let's do the San Fernando Valley first because it is much larger. The median sales price in August of 2023 in the San Fernando Valley dropped 1% to $890,000. Not much of a change. That's the overall. The single family home price, median sale price, is $1 million even, also down 1%. Condominium sales price for the entire Santa Fernando Valley, the average is $569,000, which is the same as last month. The price variances haven't changed a whole lot. They're staying pretty steady across the board. We'll go over the Santa Clarita numbers in a minute. But these are the numbers you want to pay attention to because this is where the rubber meets the road. The number of new listings is only 926. In the entire San Fernando Valley, there are only 926 new listings in the month of August. That's down 26% from last year. There are only 1,400 active listings overall in the San Fernando Valley at the end of August 2023. That's it. There should be, a little over 2,000. So 1,400 is not great. In fact, it is so not great, it is down 42% year over year compared to last year. So in 2022, at this same time, there were about 2,000 listings in the MLS in the San Fernando Valley. Now there are only 1,400. That is not good. What that tells you is there are fewer houses out there for sale. And because there are fewer houses out there for sale, that is what is keeping prices, in my view, artificially high because the interest rate spike, and it's only going to get worse. Let's see. Pending sales, the number I look at most closely, 527 pending sales for the entire month of August in the entire San Fernando Valley. That is down 38% year over year. Last month in July, it was down 17%. So those pending sale numbers are getting worse, not better. And as a result, there were 746 closed sales in the San Fernando Valley in the month of August 2023, and that is down 10% year over year. That is down 20% in July, down 10% this year. So we got a few more sales in August than we had in July in the San Fernando Valley. So it is letting up a little bit, but then again, our pending sale numbers are down a lot. So that means next month it's going to be even worse. The September numbers are going to be even worse. That is not great. The average days on the market, 24 days. Year to Year-to-date total sales volume, and this is the worst number overall, $6.1 billion. Now that sounds like a lot, $6.1 billion, because it is, but that number represents a 30% decline in the overall volume of sales. Now, don't confuse sales prices with sales volume. Those are two different things. Sales volume is the amount of property sold. Sales price is what they're selling for. Now, if you own a house, having the sales price be higher because there's less on the market, it's a good thing. But if you want to sell that house and buy another house, now you got yourself a problem, because the house you're going to buy is also going to be a lot more expensive because there are fewer houses on the market. So yeah, 30% of the business year to date so far in the San Fernando Valley just has evaporated. And I'm telling you that overall number is about 10% higher. It's about 40% total. But year to date, it's 30% in the San Fernando Valley. And what that means is, I keep saying this over and over again, whatever your business is, whatever your field of expertise, whatever you do for a living, imagine what happens if you wake up tomorrow and 30 to 40% of your business doesn't exist anymore. Whatever your industry, you lose 30 to 40%, you're going to have a problem. And that is what is going on in real estate right now. So what we're seeing all over the country is mortgage companies closing or downsizing or closing. We're seeing escrow companies pare down or close, real estate companies for sure, because there's just less business going on. So the mantra seems to be survive into 25, because we know this is going to be rough all the way through 2024 as well. So if you know a realtor, somebody in real estate, buy them a cup of coffee, give them a hug, because boy, oh boy, could we use it. Let's talk about the Santa Clarita Valley numbers, August 23 numbers. The median sales price for the Santa Clarita Valley for all property is $765,000. That's up 3% year over year, which is a bit skewed because there are many more larger houses that happened this month than last. So that's a bit off that number. Not much though. So it is up a little bit. The median single family home price remains unchanged month over month. $840,000 is now our average, was last month as well. And here's something interesting. The median condo price is up to $599,000. That is a 13% spike year over year. So condos were kind of lagging behind the market, but they're starting to catch up now. So up 13%. The average condo in the Santa Clarita Valley is now $599,000. The average single family home in the Santa Clarita Valley is now $840,000. Those numbers are encouraging if you own a house or a condo. The problem is if you need to sell one and buy another. If all you have to do is sell, if you're just going to sell and retire or sell and move out of the country, God bless you. Now this is your market. If you have a house to sell, I keep saying this, do it now. The market is only going to get choppier as the interest rate gets higher, and that is going to affect prices in the not too distant future. So if you have a house to sell, do it now. There's just not that much room left in the market in my view. But anyway, 250 new listings in the Santa Clarita Valley. That is down 32% year over year. 32% fewer houses got listed in August of this year than got listed in August of last year. And last year wasn't exactly a banner year. 329 active listings in August. That's new houses have come on the market, total houses on the market, 329. That includes condos, townhouses too. So we got 250 new listings. There are only 329 total, and that 329 should be closer to 700. 329 active listings in the month of August means a 57% drop year over year. Think about that for a second. Right now, in August of 2023, compared to August of 2022, there are 57% fewer listings. More than half of the market has just gone away. So if you're looking to buy a house, you have half the options you had last year, not to mention the interest rate's a whole lot higher. Not a great time to buy. But we're going to tell you how to fix that. We're going to tell you how to beat that. Pending sales, 163 pending sales. That's it in the entire Santa Clarita Valley. Roughly 360,000 people who live out here these days. 163 pending sales in the month of August. That is it. And that is a 35% drop year over year. 35% fewer home sales in August, pending sales, I should say, gone into escrow in August of this year than August of last year. In July, that number was 23% lower. In August, it's 35% lower. And that's pending sales. That is an ugly, ugly trend. And as far as closed sales in the month of August, these are escrows that actually closed. That is down 18% year over year to 225. That is it. The entire Santa Clarita Valley, 225 closed real estate sales in the month of August. That is not great. Although Anna on my team managed to be about 1.5%, almost a little under 1.5% of all that, because she did 3 deals. And when there are only 225 going on, that means she alone was 3% of the real estate market. So way to go, Anna. That number is a little bit better as far as closed sales year over year. Last month in July, we were down by 30%. This month, we're only down 18%. Now, that's not market overall. That's just comparing month to month. But still, that's terrifying. And again, the big number, year-to-date total sales volume in the Santa Clarita Valley, $1.38 billion. Again, a respectable number, $1.38 billion, but that number is down 31% year over year. So that is awful. awful. And I would tell you there's also, this is the MLS numbers, and I would tell you there's numbers outside the MLS you should add as well. And that really puts us about a 40% loss, about a 38% loss. So, and that's volume again. Most of the business that would ordinarily happen this time of year, this year in 2023, is just not there. So we have lost 30 to 40%. I think 38 is currently the median number of the available properties are no longer available. Of the sales that would happen aren't happening. So you've got an entire real estate market that is just slowing to a crawl. Now, having said that, because there are fewer listings on the market, because there are still buyers out there, if you got a house to sell, boy, now is the time. If you have a house to sell sometime, anytime, if you're planning on selling a house anytime in the next 12 months, hell, anytime in the next 18 months, 24 months, think about it real seriously now, because I do not see these prices holding. The middle will not hold, as they say. And there are other parts of the country, San Francisco, Sacramento, Seattle, that are West Coast. They're in our market sphere, as it were, and those prices are down. They're on average, I think San Francisco's down about 11% now. Seattle's down about 10%. Sacramento about 8%. So yeah, we're starting to see housing prices fall elsewhere. And we've held up well because we're a nice community. People want to live here. Southern California is always the last to kind of go into a tailspin, always the last to come out of it as well. And I'm just telling you, my gut tells me that the prices are going to go down. The two things I will prophesy: the Fed is going to raise the interest rate one more time before the end of the year, and houses are going to start to come down in value before the end of the year. That's only 4 months left, so we'll see. I may not be right. I'm not right about everything I say. I'm just right a lot more than most people you know, and I'm certainly right a lot more than I'm wrong. And I know I'm right about the interest rate, but we'll see. Let's talk about interest rate, because that is what is moving the market right now. The average interest rate, according to the good people at Forbes this morning, the average interest rate on the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now 7.75%, up from 7.62% a week ago. Let that sink in for a second. 7.75% interest rate. That is the highest we've seen since the 90s, since the mid-90s. That is not good news, and it's only going to get worse. New mortgage applications fell to the lowest level since 1996 as a result. Keep in mind the 7.75 also includes, that's everything across the board. That's refis, purchases, everything. And that's just a scary number. The Fed has raised rates 11 times since 2022. That's darn near once a month. Now, the big things to watch for: September 20th is their next meeting. I do not think the Fed is going to raise the interest rate at the September 20th meeting. However, there's a November 1st meeting, and that's the one to watch, because I just have a sneaking suspicion that on that November 1st meeting, they are going to raise the interest rate, and I think they're going to raise it a quarter point. Again, I hope I'm wrong about this, because we do not need another interest rate rise, but I think that's where we're headed. And if not there's another Fed meeting on December 13th. So the dates to watch: September 20th, November 1st, and December 13th. Those are the next 3 Fed meetings. If the Fed has decided they've done enough damage to the real estate market, they've cooled inflation, to put it in their terms, and they don't raise the interest rate, good. If they do raise it, bad. We're already in enough trouble. My concern is that we are going to hit 8% interest before the end of this year. And that, oh my gosh, that is going to be, that's going to be bad. That's going to be really rough. I mean, the refi market is all but dead now. It's only going to get worse. It's harder and harder for people to buy. It's even harder when you're a first-time buyer, which is why we give you money to buy a house. So if you're a first-time buyer and you're looking to buy a house, all you got to do is give me a call. If you're renting now, we can give you 10% of the rent you've paid back to go buy a house. We will literally give you money to buy a house. Just trying to do our part to make it more affordable. Let's talk about how these numbers affect. Let's say you were buying an $800,000 house. Nice round number, $800,000, a little bit below our average in this valley as far as single-family homes. So $800,000 house, let's say you put 20% down. That's $160,000. You'll be financing $640,000. $800,000 purchase price, $160,000 down, 20% down. You're going to have $640,000 you're financing. On the amount of $640,000, at today's interest rate of 7.75, including your interest, taxes, and insurance, the whole boat, you're looking at a payment of $5,178 a month. Almost $5,200 a month. And that's after you've put $160,000 down. Last year at this time, the interest rate was about 5.5. That would have been a payment of $4,200 a month. So that has saved you $1,000. That's the difference. It's $1,000 a month if you'd bought that house last year versus this year. 2 years ago, the interest rate was about 3.5. That payment is $3,466, about $3,500 a month. So you're talking about the difference between $3,500, $4,200, or $5,200. That's crazy, and that's just in the last 24 months. That is what is driving the real estate market into the ground, and that is why prices are high, because there's so few properties out there, but that can't hold. That is going to fall. It's going to go the other way, and it's going to be rough when it happens. So, again, I keep saying this. I hope I'm wrong about this. You know, I look into my crystal ball, and what it tells me is interest rates are going to go up again. I think we're going to hit 8% before the end of the year. And it's going to be rough. Now, the good news is, if you look around, you know what you're doing, you can still find a 30-year fixed interest rate at below 7%. You got to have the credit. You got to get your ducks in a row. We're going to talk about a little about that with Anna when she comes in. But if you're a buyer and you get yourself together and you do what we suggest, you will find your interest rate under 7. You'll be okay. It's still not going to be as good as 3.5. It's not going to be as good as 5.5. But it doesn't have to be as bad as 7.75, for goodness sake. And that's one of the nice things, or strange things, I should say, is when you get the interest rate rise like this, it doesn't, like when the interest rate was at 3.5%, everybody was at 3.5%. There wasn't a whole lot of variance. But when it's at 7.75, there is stuff out there. There is a variance. So we're going to tell you to do that. Largely, call us. We get you in touch with Sam Chong. He'll help you out at the Mortgage Hub. He's a sponsor of the show, and he's fantastic, and he will find you those low interest rates. He does it for our clients all the time. But I tell you what, let's go to break. Let's listen to some of the sponsors. We love hearing from them. We'll have Anna in, and for the rest of the show, it's going to be all things buyer. So if you're into buying a house, if you know somebody who's looking to buy a house, please stay tuned, because you're going to want to hear what we have to say. It's literally free money. So listen in. Enjoy the sponsors. When we come back, we'll have Anna Burka. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for listening through the break. I appreciate it. You've reached the Real Estate Fix with Rich on your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220. And we've been talking all things real estate. We just went through the market update. It's largely unchanged. The interest rate has gotten higher, so that's not great. But I have in the studio with me, I have Anna Burka, who's been, we've been together for 15 years, 16 years?
16.
It's been a long time. So thank you, by the way.
I always cut it short, but
yeah, thank you.
I have to remind myself, 16 years.
And Anna started out, she took a job as a receptionist in my office 16 years ago. That didn't last long as a receptionist. You were very good as a receptionist, but much better working with buyers and with clients. And so Anna's been working with the majority of our buyers for almost 16 years, and there's not a whole lot she doesn't know about buyers and what to do with buyers and how to handle buyers, and most importantly, how to get you to become a buyer and how to get you the best deal possible out there. Because even in a difficult market, even in a market where affordability is dropping like a stone, there are still deals out there. And if your life puts you in a place where you're ready to buy a house, especially if it's a first house, you can still do it. Where there's a will, there's a way. In all things, there's always a way to do these things. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about put together a little list of 10 things that are tips for buyers in today's housing market, and kind of the 10 things you need to really pay attention to if you're a buyer. More now than ever, because houses are expensive because the interest rate's so high, because the affordability index is as low as it is. So first thing that any buyer has to do, and I'm sure you'll agree with me about this, is get your financing ready. If you're a buyer, if you're a potential buyer, review your financial situation, gather your required documents, shop multiple lenders, strengthen your credit score. We'd introduce you to Sam, start there. That way, when you find your dream home, you'll be in a better position to act fast in a tight market. And this is a tight market. Only the best prepared with their financing lined up will be successful in today's highly competitive market. And that's just a matter, really, of being pre-qualified.
Yeah, getting financed and pre-approved ahead of time is one of the most important things. You don't want to go and not be pre-approved and the escrow falls apart.
Well, here's the thing. You may not get to the escrow because if you are not pre-approved and you're making an offer in today's market, there's a pretty good chance if it's a house that you like and it's a house that works for you, very high probability it's going to be a house that works for somebody else. Because remember, only 40% of the market doesn't exist anymore. There are 40% fewer houses out there for you. So pretty good chance that you're going to have multiple offers on that property. And if you are not pre-approved and the other guy is, your offer's not getting considered. Even if it is the highest, you're not getting considered. I would say you not only want to be pre-approved, you want to be pre-approved, you want to be under contract, you want to be ready to go. You want to show that seller that you are as ready to buy this house as you can possibly be. Because sellers are concerned about escrows falling out. That's always their big concern, because most sellers are selling a house A to buy house B. And if house A doesn't happen, house B doesn't happen. And so you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to be ready to that.
And that also gives you an idea on what your mortgage payment would be to start.
Yeah, most importantly. And that actually leads to the next one. Focus on affordability. Expert after expert will warn you that house payments shouldn't exceed 25% of your income. Now, in Southern California, nobody's mortgages live 25% of their income when they buy a house. It just isn't. In our area, it's a high cost area. So what happens in our area, most mortgage companies will allow you to go, most mortgage banks will allow you to go to 50% as what they call a back end ratio of your income. So I think that might be a bit high, but don't be shocked if that's where you are. It'd be nice if you're 25% of your income, but the reality is 50 is more normal for our area. Would you say that's the case with our clientele?
Just about. Yep.
Yeah. Now with first time buyers, it's usually a little higher than that because FHA will let you go to 55. So yeah, get your ducks in a row. Make sure it's a loan that'll work for you. Make sure it's, your financial matters are ready to rock. And the next one is really, number 2 is focus on affordability. Number 3, adjust your expectations. You got to keep in mind, nationwide, the median time on the market for properties is near historic lows. Houses are selling quick. In many places, bidders are offering thousands of dollars above the list price just to have a chance, which I don't recommend. You'd have to really love a house to want to get into a bidding war. I try to avoid it if you can. So you've got to go into that process based on your idea of what a good deal, not what a good deal was 2 years ago, but what it is now. Even 2 months ago is not, it's nice to look back and it's nice to know what those numbers are, but it's the market as you find it now. You need to be realistic about the market conditions, and you need to know where you're going to buy. You need to be ready for this stuff. You just do.
Yeah, shop in your price range, look at what's available. Because sometimes you don't want to go to a house and it crushes your dreams. Oh, that's out of my price range. So stick to what your, approved range is to make sure you get something in that range.
Oh, it's Anna could take you out right now and show you a house that's $2.5 million and you'd love it. It'd be it'd be the nicest house you've probably ever seen. It's fantastic. But if you're not buying at the $2.5 million range, unless you're just looking for fun, trying to get ideas, that's fine. But as far as being a buyer, if you're qualified to $600,000, look at $600,000. If you're qualified to $8, get those things put in place first, because otherwise it's just self-defeating. And once you've seen the big, expensive, super awesome house that you cannot afford, everything else is not going to look as good. It's just the human condition. I don't know what it is. Everything else is just not going to look as good. So don't do that to yourself. It's no fun. And under that same topic, create a budget. You got to have a housing budget. You got to set up a budget that includes homeowners insurance, taxes, repairs, upgrades, maintenance. Don't forget to set aside money for unexpected expenses. Make sure you can include in your personal budget as well, food, clothing, utilities. Don't just say, well, I make $5,000 a month and I'm going to have a $4,000 a month mortgage payment so I can afford it. Well, not if you plan on eating and paying the electric bill. That's not going to happen. So you got to, put together a budget, not just what the bank will qualify you for, but what is your budget? What works for you? And sometimes we need to figure out a way to get you qualified for more. And sometimes we need to say, hey, slow down. You're well qualified, but maybe that's a little outside your budget. It's not for us to decide. It's up to you, but as the buyer, but have a budget. Got to have a budget in place. And this is a big one. And this one we're going to stop and talk about a little bit, because this is probably, to me, the second most important thing in buying a house, next to having your financing together. And that is, have some faith in your agent. Because honestly, during a cutthroat market, and that's what we're in now, it's all the more important to trust the advice from the professionals who you have hired, who are immersed in the industry, and who know what it takes to get offers accepted. In our office, we use buyer brokerage agreements. We use them like they're a religion because they make a big, big difference. But you got to trust your agent. There's data you can get. Sales data is important, and title information is important. When you have a buyer, you're going to pull the comparable sales.
Comparables on the properties.
Everything around it's been selling for.
And most importantly, it's just communication with other realtors, communicating and letting them know this is where we're at, this is what we're looking for, because communication just all the way. You want to make sure the transaction runs smoothly. Well,
as a buyer, you've also got to remember your agent is your entree. Your agent is your mouthpiece. Your agent speaks for you. They work for you. And as the agent, they should always be working for you, not for themselves. You work for the client, not the other way around. Client doesn't work for us. But you got to have some faith in that agent. And if you don't, you need a better agent. It's very, 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 very rare in my experience that we get dismissed. It almost never happens because we're good at this. We work hard to be good at it. Because, communication, et cetera, know the numbers, get the data together. It's always a good idea as a buyer to have your data together, and it comes through the agent. But at the end of the day, you've got to know that your agent knows what they're doing, has your best interest in mind, and knows how to put it together for you.
We're a guide, advisors, and just here to educate you in that. That way, when you know a friend and you tell them about your own experience in real estate, they're going to be surprised on the information you have to give them, and you let them know, oh, I got this information from my realtor, Anna or Rich.
Well, buying a house should be fun. It should be fun. You're buying a house, you're moving to a new place, it should be a good time. But it's not, because the market has gotten so difficult. There's still parts that are fun. When you first get the keys, the first night in the house, there's a lot of good stuff. But it's become much more complicated over the 30 years I've been doing it. It's become more complicated than it needs to be, and that is not necessarily good for the consumer. When Anna talks about communication, we spend a lot of time just translating from realtor or legalese to regular person. I've yet to find the client who, if they have all the information and they understand it, makes a bad decision. It's not up to us to make the decision, it's up to the client. But if you explain everything to them and you say, this is how it works, no, you should not spend $900,000 on that house because everything else has been selling for $8,000. So that's a very nice house, but until they drop the price, maybe that's not the one for you. Or maybe you should spend $900,000 on that house because everything else is selling for $950,000 or $1 million. You got to get into this stuff. Or maybe you're overpaying just because it works best for you. You've got 1,000 stories about various clients and things that we just kind of
situational with people. If you have to move, you have to move, and you're searching for that right property. Maybe it's not the one for you, and you just wait around. And a lot of buyers right now are waiting to get that house they want. But if something pops up, we're hit the ground running.
Yeah,
get to that property.
Well, yeah, you get that. Well, that's the whole point of getting your financing together and having your budget together and having your agent picked out and knowing you've got a good agent, is because you're ready. You bought your ticket. You're ready to go you're ready to go and you're ready to see the show. You're ready to go.
Right.
Because if you haven't done that stuff, you're operating at a disadvantage. And I'm going to tell you, these are statistics that we live and die with. This has not changed in 30 years. 50% of all escrows nationwide do not close. Half the time somebody thinks they bought a house, half the time somebody thinks they sold a house. It does not happen. And they have to start all over again, both the buyer and the seller. And there are various reasons that cause that. Usually, I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm interested to get you have to say it, but 9 times out of 10, if a deal falls apart, it's because the buyer was not properly prepped and the agent didn't do their job. Now, that's not every time. There's sometimes things happen, life changes, but the vast majority of the time. And when I say the buyer wasn't properly prepped, that's the agent's job, is to get the buyer prepped.
Right.
So if the client isn't prepped, I think the agent didn't do their job.
Right. Oh, that's correct.
So, so if you've got you get your ducks in a row, get your financing together, make sure you can afford what you're talking about, get your expectations in line so you know what you're looking for, create a budget. And most importantly, you've got to have some faith. You've got to have some trust in your agent, because you are doomed before you start if you do not feel you can trust your agent. And I don't mean because they're a great salesperson. I mean because they have your best interest at heart and you know that they know what they're doing. And I would submit Anna, with 15, 16 years experience, knows what she's doing.
Thank you.
I'll take some credit for that. I did train you. But we also hear from the clients. And the clients say, it's, the hysterical thing. And those of you guys who know me have heard me complain about this for, the last roughly 15 years. I'll make contact with the client first, and they'll decide that I'm swell and we have a lot to offer. And then they'll meet Anna, and then I just disappear. I become that guy in the office in the back corner, and that's fine. But the number of times I've had clients that we've started with, and I'll answer the phone at the office. Oh, hey, Rich, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Yeah, can I talk to Anna? Well, yeah, you want to talk to me? Okay, all right, fine, I get it. I understand.
That's the relationship I build with most of my clients. That's how it is. And I started when I was a receptionist, and I thought, I never want to be a realtor. I don't want to do that. Don't put me in that. And someone told me, Anna, you don't have to be that kind of realtor. You could be your own kind of realtor.
That's right.
And do it your own way. And that's what I did. I worked with a lot of different realtors and took all the good and figured how I could apply it to my relationship with clients. And that's what I've developed. And I'm very thankful for being able to actually learn the business, because before, I would have been scared working in real estate and trying to help people buy their home. I mean, this is the biggest purchase of their life.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. If I'm selling a home to my own dad or my brother or sister, I'm looking at it as, okay, what do we have to do? What's the plan? Mm-hmm. And that's the approach I take to it, because it's hard to trust somebody and have your full faith in someone where they're, if they're not able to guide you properly or answer the questions, or you're even scared to ask them the question. I always tell my clients, ask me. If you want me to repeat it again, I'll repeat it again.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you the information in a different way.
Yeah, there's no test at the end. We don't have a test for you. We have plenty of clients who want to delve into every aspect of it and they want to know everything, and that's great. We have other clients who want to know absolutely nothing and they just roll their eyes and say, "Where do I sign?" Most people are somewhere in the middle between those two extremes, but you're exactly right when you say it's the largest single purchase a person's going to make. It's where you lay your head at night. It's often where you're going to raise your children. I mean, your house is a big, big deal, and it should be treated as such. But if you know what you're doing, and you certainly do, if you know what you're doing and you've got the experience and you've done it 1,000 times. My father-in-law used to say changing the transmission in a 57 Chevy is difficult, but if you've done it 20 times before, it's no big deal. And I think it's very much the same with anything. Maybe that's not the best analogy. I just have that on the brain. But when you've done it, we've never counted up. How many houses have you actually sold? We've never actually counted. It's a lot.
I've lost
it's
count.
a lot.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's well over 1,000. So it's a lot. And experience matters. I mean, it's not the only thing, but it's certainly part of the puzzle. It certainly is. So yeah. So I wanted to, because knowing your agent, having some faith in your agent is so important to having a successful transaction. It just is. Also, the agent needs to know what you need. You have to tell them everything. We've heard, oh my gosh, the stories we've heard. I've had people tell me they need a house on acreage because they're waiting for the mothership to land. That is a 100% true story. I've had people tell me that we had one gal recently who is she's opening a dog kennel, so it has to be zoned for dogs, and she has to be able to put 30 dogs on the property and all this good stuff. We found the house. There's all sorts of stuff. We have clients. I mean, everybody's got certain needs. We had a client late last year who's got a family and she's got 2 kids that are special needs. So they needed a house that is laid out in such a way that they could convert it to work for their kids. And we found it for them. Mm-hmm. We'll find a way to, where there is a will, there is a way. When you talk about the market and the various houses and this and that going off the market, that stuff's important. But ultimately, as a buyer, you're only buying one house. I mean, if you're buying more than one of that, then you'll be our favorite buyer. But you're buying only one house. And when you're buying one house, we need to find that one special one and those right circumstances that work for you. And that works best if you tell us what's going on. And that's not going to happen if you don't trust your realtor. So have a little faith. It'll work out. I promise. I promise. Let's go with one more. Let's do one more of these and we'll go to break. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this is another good one while we're on. Don't involve everyone you know. When you're making one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, it's only natural to seek advice from a network of family and friends, but getting too many people involved during your search can lead to a conflicting input. Analysis paralysis. If you have too many people, now you want to talk to your dad or your mom, you want to talk to your cousin Larry, great, do that. But when you talk to 45 people, you get 45 different answers, and they're not always what you want to do. And honestly, a lot of the times you talk to family and friends, I hate to say this, but not all of them know what the heck they're talking about. It's always fun to get new ideas. It's always fun to check out stuff. Mm-hmm. You learn stuff that way, but most of the time, they don't know what they're talking about. They just don't. Not that we, you don't want their input. I don't want to be insulting to anybody's family, but at the same time, if your great Aunt Edna has not bought a house in the last 10 years, with all due respect to her, I don't know that she has the best advice to give you. I really don't.
That's why I always say, just ask. Yeah. Ask us questions.
Yeah, it's just because more importantly, our answers are data driven. If you want to know what a house is worth, here's our opinion. But more importantly, here are the numbers that support that. Here's what the house down the street sold for. Here's what the one up the street is on the market for. Here's what the ones in the next 2-3 miles are going for. That's what you look at. But yeah, you got to be careful about the number of people you involve because a lot of them just don't know what they're doing. They just don't. And I mean, I'm happy to talk to them. I had 22 people in my office when I was starting this. 22 guys and one girl. Girl was they were brothers and cousins. She was buying a house, brought her entire family into the office, which was fun. I don't mind giving a little seminar. Obviously, I'm happy to talk about these things. And I think we sold our whole family house. I think we sold about 5 or 10 houses out of that when they finally got settled out over the years. But I don't mind. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. But just be careful about who you take advice from. That's why you got to have faith in your agent. And that's why you got to be careful not to talk to everyone you know, because it can be a serious, serious problem. So I tell you what, let's go here. We'll keep you in through the break. Let's go hear from some more of our sponsors and the nice people who pay for the show and pay for the advertising. We love them very, very much. So please listen. When we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of this list, and we might even get into sort of some of the things you can do to sort of get yourself the best deal and short circuit the process a little bit. So you're listening to the Real Estate Fix with Rich on 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about buyer tips for buyers in today's ridiculously difficult housing market. So stay tuned. Come back. Hello, welcome back. You've reached the Real Estate Fix on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. I'm Rich Sherman, and we're sitting today with Anna Burko, a member of my staff who does most of our buyers for us. Knows all there is to know about buyers in real estate in today's difficult market. We've been going over tips for buyers. So we'll do just a quick review for those of you just tuning in, and shame on you for not listening earlier because it's been a good show so far. But let's just go over some of the things we touched on. If you're a buyer and you're looking to buy a house in today's market, these are just 10 little tips that'll help you out. Number one is call Anna. Call the office. I'll introduce you to Anna. We'll get you set up. We'll walk you through it. It's easy enough. I give out my personal cell phone on the air all the time. I'm not asking Anna to do that. I'm the only one who does that sort of thing. I'm the only one who takes calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from people who want to talk about buying houses. I can be reached at 661-714-1400. Again, 661-714-1400. But just to review a little bit, tips for buying. This is how far I've gotten. Number one, have your financing ready. Got to be ready to go. Number two, focus on affordability. Make sure it works for you. Number three, adjust your expectations. you're likely not going to buy the house you want. You're not probably buying your dream home at under several $1 million at this point in Southern California. And if you are buying that buyer, your dream's probably about a $5 or $6 million house. So just, you got to kind of adjust, especially in the current market. Number 4, create a housing budget, not just for the house, but for your personal, self as well. If you spend $100 a month on pop dolls, make sure you put that in your budget, whatever your situation is. That was me. If you're buying scooters or parts for scooters, things like that, then put that in your budget. But make sure you have a budget for doing that. That was for you, Roger. Have faith in your agent. You've got to trust your agent. Incredibly important. I would say that's probably number 1. I put it on here as number 5 because, well, not all agents are created equal. But your agent is super, super important to your success here. And the last, we're just talking about number 6, which is don't involve everyone you know. It's fine to ask for advice, but just remember, people who don't do this all day, every day, who don't do this for a living, not that their opinion is invalid, it's just not as relevant as opinions that are data-based, that are data-driven for people who do this professionally all day, every day, and who have years and years of experience. Again, no offense to your Aunt Edna. She just may not know as much about real estate or may not be as useful as your agent. So be careful to not ask everyone you know. Let's move on. Number 7. Know that good deals are still out there. They still exist. There's still deals out there. You can find them. When every house you look at is getting several strong offers, it can seem like going way outside your budget is inevitable. However, sometimes the seller's broker may not be particularly responsive. Yeah.
And sometimes the sellers or buyers, the sellers may need to sell, or buyers, it's situational. Something always comes up, and just communicate with the agent and see what you can do.
Well, we find a lot, please correct me if you think I'm wrong, but we find a lot is that there's no diplomatic way to put this. Sometimes the agent representing the seller is just not doing the job that seller would want them to do. Now, that's good for us if we represent the buyer in that case, because if you're not working for your seller's best interest and you're more concerned with your closing a deal and making the commission than you are with your client's best interest, it's not how we roll. But if that's how you do things, it's not. They should have picked a better realtor. What can I tell you? That's up to you. Or if you have, for example, staff that are not involved with the deal, if they are not the realtor, they are not the seller, they are not a principal, and they decide to start altering contracts, interjecting themselves into a deal, can't stop you from doing that. But that's not going to be good for your client. It's going to be great for us on the other side of that transaction because you got a realtor who's out of control of the transaction. It's going to make it pretty easy for the buyer to get what they need out of it. Yeah. Same thing is true with any realtor who's just not up to the task. Either they're not engaged because they don't care, or they're just not very good at the job, or they've never been trained properly, or whatever it is. But if your realtor is weak and we're representing you as the buyer, you're going to do pretty well. You're going to do okay. And there are for sure deals out there. They're out there for you. You picked one up for a client just recently where they're about 10-15% under market. Yeah. And there was competitive offers. They had multiple offers on the property, but Anna got the client pre-approved, got them all ready to go, wrote a spectacular letter about how these people and their kids are going to raise their kids there and stuff. And it moved the seller. The seller could have sold that house to anybody they wanted. They had every option in the world, but they chose Anna's client because certainty has a value. Anna could tell them that she knew for sure this deal was going to close.
Yeah. I also was able to meet the agent during the open house. The agent was there.
That's right.
I introduced myself. The seller happened to be parking her car, and we talked a little bit, and we were waiting around, and then it worked out. I said, these are my clients, and, lovely home, and it worked out really great.
Well, the seller's agent also was able to go to them and say, hey, I met Anna in person, and she's very bright. She knows what she's doing. Her clients are well qualified. She's nice. I'd like to work with her, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, those people got that deal. I think they had multiple offers on a property. Anybody could have bought that house. Our clients didn't even have the strongest financing, and yet Anna got it done because Anna's really, really good at this. So let's move on. So let's see. Number 8, do your research in person. It's a nice little segue. It's one thing to see houses online, and that's a great place to start. But for goodness sake, go use the old Mark I eyeballs. You need to stand inside the house. We call around the office, we call people who buy houses sight unseen, and we get a couple a year. I call them kamikaze pilots because that is an incredibly dangerous thing to do. To just look at a virtual tour and just decide that's the house I'm going to buy. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Your life doesn't allow you to get there because you're relocating or something. But for goodness sake, look at it yourself if you possibly can. There's also, it's not just what you see, it's what you feel when you're in a house.
Right.
I mean,
as soon as you walk in, if you have that feeling.
Yeah.
And I've had that a couple times this year where they walk in, this is a house. Yeah, this is a house. And he said, Anna, I got the house. I said, yes, now it's your house.
Now it's your house, exactly. And that is the goal. I mean, there's this weird sixth sense thing. It's maybe one of the reasons I'm in the business. I don't want to speak for you, but I think it's for you. There's sometimes this weird sixth sense thing that happens that when you walk into a house and you just go, oh, this is it. I don't even have to see I'm going to go see the rest of the house, but I don't have to. I just know this is the house. I know this is the neighborhood. I know this is the house. This is where I'm going to live my life. This is where I'm going to raise my kids. This is what I'm going to do. This is it. This is the house. And it's great when that happens. Now, when that happens and we don't get the house, then everyone wants to cry and it's horrible and we have to convince you it wasn't the house. But luckily, that's rare. Most of the time when we get a client who says, this is the house, and we've already got them ready to go, Anna's got them ready to rock, they're ready to go. So it can be their house. That's the whole idea. Now, nobody bats 1,000, but we do pretty well.
Yeah.
Even in a multiple offer situation. So yeah, do your research. Go look at it, man. There's nothing better than that. Plus, it's also a thing. It's also fun. You're showing houses to young families. They have little kids, especially when they're vacant. I don't know what it is about little kids and vacant houses. They just, the minute they hit the door, they feel the need to run. It is fantastic. I'm not saying it's like a bad thing at all. Little kids love to run around vacant houses like it's the coolest playground on earth. And it is so fun to watch them do it. Sometimes, this is where Anna's more professional than I am. Sometimes I just run around with the kids. I completely ignore the house part and just have a good time with the kids. And I snap back to it. We do the job, but I like running around with the kids. It's more fun. Sometimes I put it on my shoulders and stuff like that too, if the parents will allow. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, let's move on. Number 9, make it as easy for a potential seller to say yes to your offer as possible. In a crowded real estate market with limited inventory, the best available properties will sell quickly and typically with multiple offers. So make it as easy as possible for the seller to say yes to your offer. Find out what the seller's plans are. Be prepared to strengthen your offer by limiting your contingencies or offering other cost-free incentives that will make your offer stronger. It's not always about the price you offer. And I'll put it to you this way. It is not at all unusual for there to be a list on a house, for there to be multiple offers, especially these days, and for our client not to be the high bidder, and yet we still get the house. And I know that frustrates other agents out there, and for those of you, I'm sorry, but we work for our clients since that's our job. And the reality is what it comes down to every single time is our offer was better. Our offer, Anna's offer, was better prepared, was better researched. The client is ready to go. The contingencies have been limited. We use buyer brokerage contracts, which are a big, big deal. They're ready to go. Have your ducks in a row, right?
That's correct.
Because that is everything. And like in this last case, they had multiple offers, but we got the deal because Anna met the agent.
Communication again.
Communication, yeah. So yeah, you gotta make it as easy for them to say yes as possible. If that seller is buying another house and their big concern is contingencies, make yours shorter. That's all. And the last lesson, and I want to bring this in, this is a big one, don't limit yourself to just the open market. Not all available homes are in the MLS. There's a whole world out there that's nothing to do with the MLS. My house was never in the MLS. I don't remember if yours was. I don't think so. What happens is you can go looking for houses intentionally. You can do what we call target marketing. Not everything that is available for sale is in the MLS. About half the houses we sell in a year don't see the inside of the MLS. So there are other ways to do this stuff. Where there's a will, there is a way. Always, in all things. Now, if we can't find that right house for you because it's not on the market, but we know it's out there, we know the price is there, we know the stuff is there, we'll call a title company, get a list of ones that work, send them all postcards, go knock on their doors. We will find you that house.
Yep.
We don't just limit ourselves to just the open market. There's a whole world out there.
Yep.
So do your research in person, make it as easy for the seller to say yes as possible, and don't limit yourself to just the open market. There's a whole other world out there. There just is.
And call us with any questions.
Yeah, and call. Absolutely call. My phone number, 661-714-1400. You can always reach me there. You can also, I have a TikTok thing going now, so I get a lot of stuff from TikTok as well. It's just Rich Sherman at TikTok. It's just Sherman with a Z on TikTok. Make sure you look at it. But SZERMAN is my last name. You can find me on TikTok. Or call me, 661-714-1400. We'll be more than happy to help you out. So I see we're running out of show as usual. I have more show than we have time for, so we're going to wrap it up. And I'm actually going to try to hit the heart out this week. It'll be the third time in 6 months I've managed to do it. If I manage to do it, if I get off the air. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back next week. I'm your host, Rich Sherman. You've been listening to The Real Estate Fix with Rich on KHTS 98.1 FM AM 1220, your hometown station. Thanks.